Welcome to Chewin' Glass, the video documentary series.
Hi, everybody. My name is Brett Wade. I'm the host of Chewin' Glass, the podcast, and the video documentary series by the same name. If you've been following my Chewin' Glass podcast, you know that I interview people who have effectively dealt with strong emotional feelings when they feel like all they want to do is chew glass. For me, over the years, when I've had those feelings, I've dealt with them through activity like running or riding my bike, or through other practices like yoga or meditation. But sometimes life throws you a curveball and you make perhaps some decisions and find yourself overwhelmed and burned out. It's during these times when you can find yourself really chomping down on the glass and maybe resorting to less than healthy coping mechanisms like perhaps drinking too much, maybe overeating, not doing those things that really used to work for you, like meditation or exercise. And pretty soon, maybe you find yourself overweight or with some health problems like high blood pressure, high levels of anxiety. Does this sound familiar to you? This is what happened to me over the course of a decade or two. And I want to share with you my journey of how I went from this guy to this guy in about a year, which led to the creation of this documentary, Tracking, Trimming, and Training, a 1-year weight loss journey. So before we get into the three principles, let's start with a little bit of my background. Firstly, like many people, I started to notice that after I had finished university, I almost imperceptibly started to gain weight. Prior to going to university in my late teens, I was very fit. Back when I was 19 and 20, this would be the late 80s, I was competing in Ironman triathlons. My interest in human performance and my plethora of injuries led me to pursue physical therapy as a career. I remained fairly active at school, running and weight training, occasionally swimming, but was after, when I graduated from school and started my first jobs as a physical therapist, that my focus turned more towards my career and away from my physical body. I started to eat more, drink more alcohol, and exercise less. Over the years, as responsibility increased, I had a mortgage, I had started a few businesses, I was completing graduate degrees, I started a family. All of this busyness just led to more weight gain and a new acquisition, high blood pressure. I was a bit scared of my new body, so I listened to my doctor, who warned me that if I didn't get my blood pressure under control, he was going to put me on medications. I dutifully started walking and paying more attention to my diet, and I lost a few pounds. My blood pressure immediately dropped. You would think that would be enough for me to stay on the track, stay on the program, but my bad habits eventually crept back in, and soon again I was drinking too much and the weight kept coming on. During this period from about 2003 to about 2019, I was working crazy hours between several jobs, exercising sporadically, and journaling once in a while, so that when I look back on my drunken scribbles, they would always say the same thing: I've got to lose this weight. I've got to stop drinking. I would resolve to really try and make it stick for a few days, but inevitably, I fell back into the old patterns. I'd like to now talk about how things started to turn around for me. It wasn't really until, about 2020, and that's of course when the world stopped. That's when I was forced to stop too. It was the COVID pandemic, and that really forced me to change. It was March of 2020, and while many parts of the world were already shutting down, it was just starting to happen here in Canada. And like many people, we were working from home, but we were getting out for regular walks and walking around the neighborhood, right out here behind me. I hadn't made any other changes at that point other than some more regular exercise. My wife and I would work for a few hours in the morning, and then at around lunchtime, we'd put on our shoes and put on our masks and go and walk the neighborhood. It seemed everyone was out. The whole neighborhood was out walking. For the next few months, as we moved into the summer of 2020, we just kept walking. We were doing some more camping, and while I was still eating and drinking too much, I was now becoming more aware of some of my habits. The time spent at home made me realize how many calories and how many bottles of wine I was consuming. There was just no way that little bit of walking we were doing was going to counteract any of these behaviors. As 2021 rolled around, we were back to work, and I was starting to really enjoy some more regular exercise. I actually decided to buy a treadmill, and I dusted off my trusty road bike. I put it on an indoor trainer, and the more I exercised, the better I was feeling. I connected my bike to an indoor training platform, and I was really starting to remember what it felt like to exercise more regularly. I was even having some vague memories of what it was like to train for triathlons many, many years ago. I still had no goals or no plans, but I was liking what was happening to not just my physical body, but my mental and my emotional health as well. And that's how it started. It was November 12th, 2021, and I decided to set some goals for my physical health and see what I could do. For accountability, I decided to make a weekly video.
Okay, so it's November the 12th, 2021, and hi, I'm Brett. I'm 51 years old and starting to get back to where I want to be, where I was, and that is a lot more fit and a lot more healthy. So I've set a goal I'm currently 217 pounds. Beautiful. And I've set a goal to lose about, I wrote this down, 5 to 8 pounds a week. Nope, sorry, make that a month. And if I give myself 1 year, I can be down around 52 pounds to get close to my weight where I want to be. It's about 165. So anyway, here we go.
And take a weekly photograph. I decided to set a goal to get my weight down to a weight that would put me in the healthy range for body mass index, or BMI, which is just a ratio of height and weight. Well, I guess I needed to see what my weight actually was, so I went and bought a digital scale that would upload metrics to my phone, such as body fat, BMI, of course, weight. When I stepped on the scale that day, November 12th, 2021, with a great deal of trepidation, I had every reason to be scared. The number showed 217 pounds, and my BMI was off the charts. And to think, I had actually probably lost quite a few pounds prior to that measurement. Well, I had a starting point and some objective measurements. I also took a waist measurement. I purchased an Apple Watch like this to keep track of other important data like resting heart rate, calories burned, my level of exercise and activity. To achieve my goal of getting down to 165 pounds, a 52-pound weight loss, I decided to look at the best available data, the best available evidence as it applied to diet and to weight loss. As somebody with a PhD in health sciences, I'm comfortable with reading, research, and knowing what is good research and what is just marketing and hype made to look like science. So this sets the stage for my year-long journey into my weight loss that I now want to share with you. Spoiler alert, I did lose the weight, and it did take me 1 year, plus an additional 3 months, and I'll talk about that later. So first of all, here's my 30-second transformation video from start to finish over those 15 months. It wasn't until I was about halfway through this personal challenge where I thought that maybe I could use some of this footage as a way of helping others. As I was losing weight, patients and friends and family, some of them wanted to know how. At first I was a bit shy talking about it, and I would obfuscate and make things up. Then I realized that I really did learn some things, and people really did want to know. I recognize that I have a bit of a unique perspective in that I'm a data geek with a health science background. And I took a very scientific approach to this and realized what I found along the way could really be helpful to other people who are on this journey or considering starting a journey towards weight loss. As I look back on the 15-month journey, I realized that there were three things or three principles that made the biggest difference. These three principles I've called tracking, trimming, and training. I'll explain what each of these three principles mean in a minute, but just before that, let's talk about goal setting. Seeing as you have found your way to this video documentary, it's safe to say that you're interested in losing some weight. When it comes to attaining any goal, like losing weight, it is a good idea to use the SMART goal principle: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. For me, my SMART goal was S, specific. It was a clear amount of weight that I wanted to lose. M, measurable. I used objective information like using a scale. A, attainable. I chose an amount of weight and a timeline that was very realistic. R, relevant. This goal is very relevant to me and my health, plus other fitness-related goals that I would establish later. And T, time-bound. Again, I gave myself a realistic starting point, a realistic end point to the goal, and of course a realistic time. I would also add that accountability is a really important aspect to goals. If you decided to use some of the advice in this video and you want to set your own SMART goal, I would suggest making it a challenge. Bring in another friend or a family member, or at least make yourself accountable with weekly photos and maybe even posts to social media, sharing with friends or a spouse, or just be accountable to yourself. Either way, accountability matters. So if you decided to do your own SMART goal and you want to get going with the three principles of tracking, trimming, and training for weight loss, as I've done, I first of all recommend that you get clearance from your family doctor. This is not only to make sure that you're safe to beginning an exercise program or some calorie restriction, but the doctor may also take some other measurements, some other objective data which might be interesting to recheck at the end of achieving your SMART goal. So if you're ready, here we go now with three principles for effective weight loss: tracking, trimming, and training. Principle number one, tracking. Objective data means numbers. Numbers that are measured with reliability and validity. This is not the same as saying, well, I'm looking better. That's subjective. That's an opinion. That is not science. What science says about fat loss is that you have fat for storage as subcutaneous tissue. This is normal, and it's a fact of life. You need it. It's life-preserving as a fuel source for when you go through periods of caloric deficits. Our ancestors walking out of Africa would have been constantly going through this period of food scarcity and would need to be able to tap into this really important fuel source just to survive. Many hundreds of thousands of years later, our bodies are still built with that same DNA to store fat for periods of food scarcity. While food scarcity and the abhorrent disparity of food availability around the world still is very real, many developed nations struggle with excess and overnutrition and easy access to food, and still our DNA tells us, store just in case you need it. Now, if you're living in a developed nation and watching this video and you have easy access to food, it's just far too easy to overconsume in our easy modern lifestyles with refrigerators and grocery stores everywhere. This has caused us not be able to tap into that food source, that calorie burning fuel. So if you want to lose weight, what do? Firstly, you need to put yourself in a negative energy balance. This means that you need to be burning more calories through training or just burning calories than you are consuming, trimming. In order to objectively and accurately do this, you need to track everything. You must collect, analyze, and track your data at regular and consistent intervals. At a minimum, this means you must weigh yourself at least every week and track your input using a calorie counting app. I like MyFitnessPal, it's great. And track your activity levels with a smartwatch every day. Tracking your weight, your input, and your output will help make sure that you're in a negative energy balance. This is the only way you're going to tap into fat stores. As far as tracking your weight, the reason I think once a week is best is that your body weight will fluctuate a couple of pounds per day, mainly due to changes in water. You could drive yourself crazy with daily measurements. True, weight loss, and by that I mean fat loss, takes time. A week is a realistic amount of time to measure fat loss. I use the Withings electronic scale. It measures things like weight, body fat, muscle mass, and calculates BMI. The useful app is easy to see trends over weeks and months. Weigh yourself at the same time of the day and the same day of the week. I always weigh myself on Friday mornings between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. It'll vary a little bit as I weigh myself on an empty stomach after a cup of coffee with cream and a visit to the bathroom. As you'll see from my photos, I always wore the same underwear too. Yes, I washed them each week. My only added weight during the weigh-ins were consistently my watch, my underwear, and my glasses. Always the same. I recommend recording somewhere that's also consistent and easy access for your tracking. I record and weigh myself every week in my gym. Since I'm spending so much time in this space for my training, it just helps by linking together good habits. My gym links to the tracking process, which links to the training. Right after I do my weigh-in on Fridays, I change my weigh-in underwear and take a photo and do a short summary of the week, a recorded short summary.
Okay, so it's November the 12th, 2021, and hi, I'm Brett. I'm 51 years old and starting to get back to where I want to be, where I was, and that is a lot more fit and a lot more healthy. So I've set a goal I'm currently 217 pounds. Beautiful. And I've set a goal to lose about, I wrote this down, 5 to 8 pounds a week. Nope, sorry, make that a month. And if I give myself 1 year, I can be down around 52 pounds to get close to my weight where I want to be. It's about 165. So anyway, here we go. Hi everyone, it's November 19th, 2021. And as you know, we've started this journey, well, I guess officially a week ago. And that journey is to try to get back to the shape I was in when I was doing Ironman triathlons. I'm not sure I'm going to get back to Ironman triathlons, but I certainly would like to get into that shape again. And I think that's certainly possible. And by shape, I really mean waist size down to 30-inch waist. Weight was somewhere between 155, 160. And as mentioned at the beginning, I'm not there, but good news, I have lost 2 pounds in 1 week. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. Hi everyone, it's Brett, and today is Sunday, November 27th, 2021. And just a little update on the progress of the program. I am down. I did weigh in on Friday. I'm trying to do it every Friday. And since I started this just over 2 weeks ago, this program, I am down, 6 pounds. So lost 4 pounds in the last week. And well, Merry Christmas, everybody. It's December 25th, 2021, and just a day after my weekly weigh-in and check. And unfortunately, I'm still the same, 205. I might have come down a tiny bit, but just a fraction. I'm not exactly sure why. You know, things have, I think, been pretty consistent, other than the fact that it is, well, it's Christmas, and it's been a week of celebration. So I don't think food changed a lot for me, other than probably more wine. So hi everyone, it's January 14th, 2022, and this is my weekly update on progress. Progress, of course, with the main goal of losing some weight and getting down to 165. I've got a ways to go still. I started at 217 way back in November when I started weighing myself. So probably started higher than that. But anyway, I've been making some progress. And last week I was, I think, around 218. So I'm 217. I've lost about a pound. My bad. Last week I was at 198. I'm down to 197. So I've lost 20 pounds since starting this measurement process.
In addition to the weekly weight measurement, I also did a waist size measurement. Now, waist size is a very unreliable measurement, and I used a tape measure. With this tape measure, and I'll insert a little video here, I believe that once a month is fine. Since body fat loss is universal throughout your body, you're not likely to see a lot of change here, at least not initially. In addition to needing a scale and a tape measure, by the way, any scale will work, although I highly recommend the Withings scale. You also need to get a smartwatch for accurate tracking. I know they can be a bit expensive, but they really help with tracking your data collection, especially for energy output or training, as we'll talk about in the third principle, looking at things like calories burned. My watch and most of these watches will synchronize with your phone and the various apps that I also use. In addition, the watch will track other things, as mentioned before, like heart rate and exercise, energy burned at rest, all my workouts, and even my sleep. In the first few months of my challenge, I regularly tracked my breath acetone while fasted every morning. And I did this to see if I was in some state of ketosis. Ketosis is the physiological state where your body is preferentially producing energy from the breaking down of fatty acids and ketones. Ketones such as acetone and acetoacetate. These ketone bodies are released into the blood and urine, but can also be detected on the breath with a ketone meter, as I'll show you in this video. It was interesting to see for the first few months to track this data and see which foods, obviously things like refined carbohydrates, white bread, and white rice really took me out of ketosis. Once I had all this figured out and I knew what ketosis really felt like in my body, I didn't track it as often. Now, I'll still use my breath meter once in a while if I've eaten something unusual and I'm really just curious. For fat loss, you want to be in ketosis as much as possible. A negative energy balance by simply trimming your daily calories, though, will do this as well, if not better, than any diet. In the next principle, trimming, I will talk about calories. I know, for some reason, it is controversial, but calories do matter, and you need to trim them down if you want to lose weight. To realistically and honestly cut calories, you need to measure them and track them. You must, at least in the beginning, track everything you eat and drink and snack. As I've mentioned before, I use the free app MyFitnessPal. I think it's a fantastic app. You must really track everything, and even things that seem insignificant, like, oh, I'll just pop a cracker in my mouth, or an extra tablespoon of cream in your coffee. All of this matters, and if you aren't obsessively tracking, you're likely underestimating. This recent survey of diners published in the American Journal of Public Health found that people underestimated the caloric content of commonly ordered food at many fast food restaurants by an average of 600 calories. In the beginning, I was tracking a lot of data. Much of the data was tracked passively with my smartwatch. Along the way, I also learned to develop a bit of a feel in my body. Regularly analyzing the tracked data helped to confirm whether what I was feeling was accurate or not. I now know, as soon as I step on the scale, whether I'm up or down as little as a pound. Some of the data I was initially collecting and tracking, I found had little to do with my overall success. I even tried wearing a CGM, or continuous glucose monitor, for a few months, which, while interesting, did little more for me than tell me what I already knew. Eating refined carbohydrates like white bread and white rice and drinking alcohol like beer and wine raised my blood glucose. At an absolute minimum, you need to regularly track and record weight. I recommend doing that every week. Also, track your total caloric intake daily and calories burned, and of course the exercise that you do using your smartwatch, both daily. Other things I track, like breath acetone and blood glucose and even blood lactate and a myriad of other data that my smartwatch tracks and records, is interesting, but not as relevant to weight loss or fat loss as much as tracking weight, tracking calories, and tracking activity and training. Hence, the three principles are: track the data, trim the calories, and do some regular training to raise your basal metabolic rate and your activity level. Now, let's summarize the key points for principle number 1, which was tracking.
Hi everybody, it's February 13th, 2022, and this is the end of week summary. The end of week was actually February the 11th. As you know, I do my check-ins normally on Friday. Unless I miss it, then it's sometime later. So this is a couple days later. My weigh-in on the 11th was 190 pounds. Hi, everyone. It's Monday, February 21st, 2022. And, well, first off, welcome to the 80s. Yay! Q and Thompson twins. Not. Anyway, yeah, what I mean by that is actually not the great music that came from my generation, but I am 187 pounds. Hi, everyone. It's Monday, April 25th, 2022, and it's my weekly check in. As of my weigh in on Friday, I was at 185. I think it was 185. Anyway, I'm kind of bouncing around 185. Seem to be sort of stuck here. I don't mean that in a negative way, it just means it sort of feels to me like the exercise is going really well. The food intake is going quite well. I'm still doing my intermittent fasting or time restricted feeding, whatever you want to call it. So that's going well. There's some bad habits that are still lurking. Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, and this is my weekly update. I'm actually a couple days past what I normally do, which is a Sunday update, but I was out of town, up visiting family. Anyway, kind of some interesting things, I suppose, have happened. I weighed in on Friday, as I always do, and I was 2 pounds up, so that is 186, which was super frustrating because I thought everything was going really well. I had been running a lot and exercising a lot. Intermittent fasting is going well. So, I took a good hard look at myself and I said, okay, what has changed? Like, why am I plateaued here in the 180s? And the honest truth is, I think it is I've just sort of succumbed to drinking too much wine again, and so I've had to kind of just cut it out completely. Hi, everyone. It's Monday, July 4th, 2022, my weekly update. Friday was, of course, weigh-in day, and I'm down to 182, so this is the lowest I have been, well, ever since I can remember. Well, that's not totally true. I was much lighter before when I was in university and in my 20s, so the goal, of course, is to get back to 165.
Principle number 2, trimming. This is a controversial area of research, mainly due to the challenges in conducting good research to control variables such as the self-reporting of calorie intake or even the sheer cost of conducting a long-term diet study. I'm not an expert in diets or nutrition, but when I decided to start this challenge, I did look at the best available evidence and research on weight loss and diets. Most of the good quality human studies, regardless of the macronutrients, that being the percentages of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, really come to the same conclusion, and that is calories matter. Calorie restriction is really what causes the most successful amount of fat loss to get into a negative energy balance. I try and consume the majority of my calories in the form of foods that are in their most natural state, mainly vegetables, some grains, some animal proteins and fats, which are high in omega-3, just for the additional health benefits. I suppose if I had to pick a diet that most closely resembled my own, it would probably look a lot like the Mediterranean diet. So the big question is, how many calories do you need to consume to stimulate your body to tap into fat stores, to get into that negative balance? In general, if you cut about 500 calories a day from your usual diet, you could expect to lose about a half to a pound a week. But this will vary greatly depending on your unique physiology, how much weight you want to lose, your gender, your activity level. In general, most men need approximately 1,600 to 1,800 calories just for their basal metabolic rate. And for most women, it's about 1,550 calories. Basal metabolic rate is the number of calories you need at absolute bed rest just to run your physiology. No movement to keep your body alive. So that's things like your heart rate, your digestion. I'd recommend that you do an online calculation like this one, which takes into account your height and weight and age to get an accurate number. When I calculated my basal metabolic rate, it came to 1,600 calories. Again, any amount of movement, like just walking around your house, is going to increase your need for more calories. This is why, again, it's good to have a smartwatch which not only tracks your movement, but also lets you know any additional calories that were burned for exercise. For me, on a typical day with 10,000 steps and 1 to 2 hours of exercise per day, I could theoretically require an additional 1,600 calories on top of my BMR. This would mean that theoretically I could consume somewhere around 3,200 calories and maintain my body weight. But to lose any weight at a rate of, again, about a pound a week, I would need to be somewhere around 2,700 calories per day. You might think that sounds like a lot of calories, but when you carefully track calories for a few weeks, you'll see how quickly it adds up. I used MyFitnessPal to track my calories for my lunch and dinner and snacks. I stopped eating breakfast actually at the beginning of this challenge, and I'll say more on that in a second. I was surprised when I started to look at my calories, how my homemade salad for my lunch came in around 1,200 calories, and my dinners maybe around 2,000 calories. So that's 3,200 calories for the day. While one could argue the health benefits of my salad and all the vegetables I was eating, I was not able to lose weight at those levels. I highly recommend, at least for the first few months of this challenge, that you track every single thing that you put in your mouth. And again, I recommend using the MyFitnessPal app. It's free. You might be surprised. Once I figured out the foods that I not only like to eat, but that could sustain me for several hours, and I knew the calories, I just consistently ate that meal. In fact, even now, I still eat the same salad for almost every single lunch. I just mentioned that I cut breakfast at the beginning of my challenge. I did this as I discovered some research which came out supporting intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding for weight loss. I used to eat a big breakfast, a moderate lunch, and dinner every day, including copious amounts of wine consumption. I would estimate that for many years I was consuming easily well over 3,500 to 4,000 calories a day. By just cutting breakfast, I easily trimmed close to 800 calories from my delicious 3-egg bacon and cheese scramble wrapped in a tortilla. For me, intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding, it just turns out to be an easy way to trim about a third of my regular daily calories. When I used to eat 3 meals a day, it just became more difficult to track and to make mistakes. So this works great, cutting a meal, as long as you don't start sneaking in snacks or eating bigger meals for lunch and dinner. Remember, you need to calculate your BMR and your calories burned with exercise to determine what you need to maintain, and then cut by approximately 500 calories from that. While recent research may show that there isn't a significant difference between whether you're eating those calories in a restricted, narrow window like time-restricted feeding, or whether you're taking those same number of calories and spreading them out through the day, again, I just find it easier by cutting out one meal. I can more carefully track those calories, and I'm less likely to make mistakes or sneak in some food. So it just is an easier way to really have accountability, and again, an easier way for me to track. Again, just to reiterate, trimming calories from your minimum daily caloric maintenance does, whether by intermittent fasting or caloric restriction, put the body into ketosis, which will lead to fat loss. Speaking of ketosis, you might be wondering, what about the ketogenic diet? As mentioned, when I started this journey, I was primarily focused on getting myself into ketosis. At first, I did measure, and I've shown that to you, breath acetone after every meal, just to see which foods would take me out of ketosis. Once I figured out that the main driver of ketosis was periods of fasting, then I stopped measuring breath acetone all the time. Honestly, I started with the ketogenic diet because I was really swept up in all the hype. I had a friend who lost some weight on the diet, and I'm sure you do too. And although there wasn't and still isn't a lot of really good research out on the ketogenic diet with controls comparing diet to diet, people do lose weight on the diet. But people will lose weight on any diet if the calories are low enough. The ketogenic diet might work because people tend to feel quite full with the high-fat diet. Whether there are health consequences remains to be seen. In my decades of trying to lose weight, I have tried every fad diet going, and they all work for a period of time. Atkins, veganism, ketogenic, fat flush, even high carb. Yes, I tried them all. And with each of these fad diets, I would lose weight. Likely with the ketogenic diet, the fat flush diet, and the Atkins diet, I lost a lot of weight, and it was probably due to water weight. Honestly, I also found all of these diets to be really challenging to maintain, both personally and socially. I'm steadfastly convinced that calories do matter, and you should choose a diet that is sustainable to you forever. If you are dieting, but you can't see yourself eating like this in 10 years, even 1 year, I just don't see the point. While I started with my goal to lose weight in 1 year, I now want to keep the weight off. Mainly for purposes of health, of course, but also for new goals. I want to lose a bit more weight. This is mainly for goals such as racing. So all that being said about calories and diet, let me show you my daily routine.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's about 6 o'clock in the morning. Usually I get up between 5 and 6, depending on the day. So just showing you my morning routine. Usually the first thing I do is I come down and get my coffee. And so I'm getting my coffee, me and my cat, and making my coffee, and I'll just show you how that goes. It's obviously pretty straightforward. And I eat fast. I drink my coffee fasted. It's the only real quite food I eat until about 1 o'clock, 12:31. So here we go. Pretty straightforward. I make the coffee the night before. Just press start in the morning. You can see I take my coffee quite seriously. And just my black Tim Hortons coffee. And yeah, give it a pour. I don't know why I said black, because I actually put cream in it. That's a really important part. It's really the only calories I consume in the morning. But yeah, here we go. That's it. That's the only thing I will have until about 12:31. So it's Friday, and I've just done my weigh-in because Friday's weigh day, and done that, and I'm just about to do my workout. And my workout today on the schedule is Friday, so that's my run day.
Hi everyone, it's just after 12:30, about 12:30, and I'm about to have my first meal of the day, lunch. You may have seen my morning coffee routine and know that the only calories I consume in the morning are my 2 tablespoons of cream that I add to my coffee. That's about 40 calories total. This morning, and like every morning, I've done fasted training, which means that this morning I was running on the treadmill for about an hour. My Withings app told me that I burned 475 calories, and I haven't eaten anything other than the cream since the amazing dinner my wife made last night. So yeah, I'm hungry, and it's Brett's lunchtime. So this is the salad I make, almost the same every day. I use the MyFitnessPal app to calculate the calories, and I'll show you what it looks like. It breaks down basically like this. I use 1 romaine heart, 39 calories, 2 boiled eggs, 160 calories. I put 1/8 of a cup of sunflower seeds, 125 calories, 2 cups of chopped broccoli, which is 60 calories, and about 3 tablespoons of olive oil and some salt. That's about 358 calories. So total 742 calories, and I only drink water with my lunch. This will be the only thing I eat between now and my wife's amazing dinner. I will snack on some celery stalks and some broccoli, so that might be a total of another 80 calories or so. But that is my total caloric intake, 742 for the salad, maybe another 80 for my snacks, and then dinner, which I don't stress too much about. I did used to count that, but it's just socially unacceptable to do that. And I know that I'm well within my caloric range. If I want to be in a negative energy balance, I know how to balance that. And if I want to maintain, I know where to have that at. So anyway, without further ado, here is me and my salad. My chopped romaine goes in, 1 romaine heart. I do chop it. I know for some reason people don't like doing that, but I like my salad pieces to be bite-sized. I take my boiled eggs. I've already peeled them, so I just smush them in there. Nothing too fancy. And then my sunflower seeds. Again, about 1/4 cup or so there. And broccoli. I love broccoli. I don't know why. I can't understand that people don't like broccoli. And my olive oil. 1, 2, and 3. That goes in. Bit of salt. Just some coarse salt. And then let's mix it all up. So this huge salad is very, very sustaining. Lots of fiber, of course. I didn't tell you the macronutrients because, as you probably know by now, I don't worry too much about that. I'm really concerned about and consider calories. So this is a fairly high calorie salad, I suppose. 742 calories, but very sustaining. And that's it. So now you have seen most of my daily routine. I've shown you my morning coffee with cream, my weigh-in on Fridays, a sample of my daily exercise, and of course, my favorite salad. The only part of my day as it pertains to food intake that I will not show you is a video of dinner with my wife. This is a very personal and intimate part of my day. For the record, I try to never bring my diet, exercise, or any other aspects of my program into our sacred dinner time. It's our time to reconnect and talk about the day. But here are a few images of my wife's amazing meals. As I've said before, I do not specifically count calories at dinner, but I have a good sense of the numbers. I also don't drink anything other than alcohol-free beer or perhaps some soda, that's sugar-free soda, or water with my meals. And neither my wife nor myself eat desserts, so these images are essentially a sample of some of the amazing dinners my wife puts together. Yes, I am that lucky. On the subject of beverages, we should talk about alcohol. For many people, this is a controversial and an emotional subject. I understand this very well. Most of my life, I've struggled with alcohol. Over the past few years, I've been experimenting with quitting, giving up weeks, things like dry January, or even months at a time. There's simply no doubt that in addition to all the health and societal issues, alcohol will sabotage weight loss goals. Many people mistakenly think it's about the calories when it comes to alcohol, but this is a very small part of the problem. Biochemically, when your body breaks down ethanol or alcohol in the liver to acetaldehyde, first of all, it's very damaging to the body. Also, fat will get stored in the liver, but also in the muscles, which leads to an inability to effectively produce energy from fat and to a metabolic syndrome where you just get worse at dealing with blood sugar levels. So while 125 calories for a glass of red wine might not seem like much, its effect on fat burning ability, that's when it becomes really hindered, which is a much bigger issue. In fact, when alcohol is in your system, your body cannot effectively use fat as a fuel source. This effect can, depending upon how much alcohol you've consumed and on how many calories you've consumed perhaps with the alcohol, could mean that a person isn't able to tap into subcutaneous fat for many hours or even possibly days. Of course, beyond that, there are significant correlations with increases in cancer like breast and laryngeal. Take a look at this graph showing the beginning of the challenge in November of 2021 when I was not drinking to about the summer of 2022 when my weight loss stalled, as you can see on the graph, to October of 2022 when I finally quit drinking and my weight loss resumed and started to come back down. There's no doubt in my mind that I would have attained my goal of making it from 217 pounds to 165 pounds easily in 1 year instead of 1 year and 3 months had I not resumed drinking in the summer of 2022. If you're having difficulty losing weight, you need to take a close look at what might be sabotaging the program for you and what are your triggers. What are the foods or drinks that you're consuming that are holding you back? Is it alcohol? Is it sugary sweets? Is it eating too many calories? Is it eating at night? Is it that you're drinking your calories or energy sodas? Count your calories carefully and honestly. Once you figure it out, then figure out what the triggers are for you to consume them. As for me and abusing alcohol, my trigger was to drink mainly because of poorly managed stress. I had convinced myself that in order to unwind from a stressful day, I really needed alcohol. And the problem was, of course, that it kind of worked at first, and then it didn't. In fact, it just made my problems stack up and my anxiety and my stress just built up. So what is your trigger? Is it stress? Is it anxiety? Is it celebrations? Is it emotional connections to your past? Figure out what your triggers are, and just by even noticing them, at least you can start to become conscious of why you're eating or drinking perhaps too much of the wrong thing or at the wrong time.
Hi everyone, it's July 26th. That's a Tuesday, so I'm a couple days late for my update. Not really a lot to update. Um, yeah, basically everything seems to be going pretty well. Um, Weight is kind of stable. I'm hoping that it starts to drop off now that I've made some better lifestyle changes. And yeah, exercise again going really well. I had a 15K run just on Saturday, and today being Tuesday, yesterday rather, I did 8K, and yeah, exercise going well, food, diet, all going well. Yeah, that's about it. Hi everyone, it's Sunday, August 14th, 2022, and this is my weekly check-in. Yeah, so some progress. I am at 181 pounds now. Hi everyone, it's Monday, September 5th, 2022. Happy birthday to my sister. Yeah, some good things. My weight has come down again for the second consecutive week, so I'm at 179.6. I know I need to round that to 180, but it just sounds better at 170. Hi everyone, it's Monday, September 26th, and this is my weekly update. Yeah, the week has been good. I had a 20K run on Sunday. Is that yesterday? Gosh, yeah, yesterday. So yeah, overall things have gone quite well. Weight is still hovering right around 180. Hi everyone, it is, I have to check the date here to be precise. Stop my watch first of all, sorry about that. And it is November 14th, 2022. This is 1 year and 2 days since I have been started this program. And this program, just to remind you, was with a goal to lose some weight. And my goal, starting at 217 pounds, was to get down to 165 pounds by the end of 1 year. To do that, I was, and still am, I started intermittent fasting, which means I don't eat until about 12 or 1. I stop eating around 6:37. So anyway, around 16, 17 hours of delayed eating. And then I basically eat really healthy. I always have. I eat a lot of vegetables and all of that jazz, so that's good. My challenge over the last year, sort of this being a summary, I guess you could say, or at least a point in the journey summary, is that I had initially lost quite a bit of weight, and that was in the first couple of months, and that was probably, as I look back, due to just cutting alcohol out completely. And then over the next several months, that continued to be kind of an ongoing challenge. And about 6 weeks ago, I decided to just cut it out again to see what would happen, mainly because I was stuck at 180-ish pounds, 183 to be the average, about 183. So I cut it out again and almost immediately dropped 5 pounds. So science. Yeah. So anyway, it seems that's been the biggest Achilles heel, and so I have decided to extend this challenge beyond 1 year, because I think if I had just stayed off of not drinking, I probably would have reached my goal. I'm currently at 178 pounds, so yay, that's great. And but I do still fully intend to get to 165. So yeah, I'm going to continue this program. It certainly seems to be working, particularly again, not drinking alcohol. That seems to be the one that really kind of causes the major slip up, or is really the impediment to kind of the weight loss, I think. So yeah, I'm going to keep going on with that. I'm still working out 7 days a week, alternating between cycling on that and running on that. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, and I'm going to keep that going. So I'm going to keep this sort of little checkup going, if nothing else, just for myself, for some accountability, and try to get to that 165. I feel a little more confident now that I can do that, now knowing probably what was the, again, biggest barrier to achieving that goal. So anyway, here we go. Keep going.
Principle number 3, training. In general, Training or exercise on its own is not the best tool for weight loss. I know that may sound surprising, but note that I'm not saying it doesn't contribute to weight loss. It contributes a great deal. Exercise or training can be highly effective as a tool to increase your metabolism or to burn more calories that can last hours after the training event. But be aware, if you are a person who does a lot of exercise and then feel really hungry, you might consume more calories than you burned, easily nullifying these effects. Many people, including myself, have gained lots of weight by assuming that walking for an hour a day would allow me to eat and drink all the wine and cheese I wanted. Now, when I exercise or train hard on my bike or on my treadmill, I might burn 500 to 600 calories. Well, I'll easily double that almost in some of my salads that you've seen me make. Even though I'm training hard, some days burning over 1,000 calories a day, I still have to very carefully track my intake and make sure that if I want to lose weight, I'm in that negative energy balance. When it comes to training, most people struggle to exercise even 30 minutes per day. If you look at this graph, you'll see that most Canadians, where I'm from, get about 6.6 hours of exercise in a week. If that exercise is counted as walking, which is the most common form of exercise, that totals about 267 calories for the average person walking for about an hour. Well, one fancy drink from your favorite coffee shop with cream and sugar easily erases that. When people hear the word training or exercise, it can cause negative reactions for some people. Training does not have to be something fancy or complicated, requiring gym memberships or special home equipment. Certainly, walking or housework can do that. Remember that you want to be tracking your calories, both that you take in with your food and your drink, but you also want to track the calories that you're burning in a day during your regular activities of daily living, but also exercise like walking or exercising like lifting weights or doing yoga. Even the digestion of your food will burn some calories, but we don't need to get into that calculation. Now, you could track the calories burned by consulting charts. There are lots of free charts on the internet. But again, I'd recommend just getting a smartwatch to track your activity calories, such as walking around your house, and then also the specific exercises that you're doing, so that can track and add to your calorie total. To reiterate, training is an important part of fat loss, so you're tipping the scales between input and output, helping you get into a negative energy balance. When you look at training for fat loss, there are essentially two main ways to look at it. One, you could do a low intensity, steady state exercise, often called zone 2, which is exercise done around 65 to 70% of your maximum heart rate for long periods of time, at least an hour. Or you could do something much shorter but much higher intensity, often called HIIT, high intensity interval training. This type of exercise, zone 4, is done about 80 to 90% of your maximum heart rate and burns significantly more calories per minute. Most HIIT type of exercise can last anywhere from a few minutes up to about 30 minutes. HIIT exercise will also lead to metabolism staying higher longer, up to 24 hours after the workout. Some research has shown that there is not a significant difference in fat loss between HIIT and zone 2. So I recommend mixing in a little bit of both, some zone 2 and some HIIT each week. The majority of your training during the week should likely be in zone 2, where about once a week, zone 4 HIIT will be sufficient. Comparing these types of exercises, they use different energy systems and can both be effective for assisting in fat loss. HIIT, or zone 4, burns many more calories per minute, but long sessions of an hour or more burn about the same over a long period of time if you're doing zone 2. Obviously, if you're pressed for time, HIIT is the way to go. If you're not sure what zone 4 training looks like, just search the internet. It's full of sample exercises, things like Tabata, for example. Since I'm training for triathlons, my weekly HIIT is done on the bike or running sprints on the treadmill or at the track. Most of my training, as a percentage of my training time, is and was right from the beginning of this challenge spent in zone 2. By the way, the easiest way to figure out if you're in zone 2 or zone 4 is, you guessed it, use the smartwatch. When I use my Apple Watch and select my training workout, it automatically tracks my heart rate. So based on a calculation such as 220 minus my age for a theoretical maximum, you can figure out that you're in about 65 to 70% of your maximum heart rate zone. Again, using a watch just makes it a little bit easier. We've talked about calories burned and training and how they relate to energy balance. We've also talked about zone 2 and zone 4 exercise. And remember, my recommendation is the majority of your exercise is zone 2 for about an hour a day. Zone 4 or HIIT is much shorter. Now the question might be, how many days a week do you train? Since the majority of my training is in zone 2, I see no reason not to train 7 days a week. For your zone 2 exercises, again done about say 6 days a week, they could be done in a whole variety of different ways depending upon your interests. You might swim one day, you might go for a walk, you might do yoga. Maybe your walking is 3 days a week. Maybe you ride a bike 1 day a week. And then your other day is some type of high intensity workout HIIT. Each week during this challenge, and I still do it every day, Sunday night is when I clear my weekly dry erase calendar and I plan my week. As you now know, I do intermittent fasting or time-restricted feeding. Since most of my exercise is done in the morning, this means that I'm always and intentionally exercising while fasted. There is good research to support increased fat burning while you exercise in a fasted state. While this does indeed compromise some of my power slightly during my training, the fat burning benefits are well worth it for me. While we've been mainly talking about exercise as a useful and very important adjunct for fat loss, exercise's biggest benefits is that you will live longer due to the massive effects, positive effects on your cardiovascular system, not to mention the benefits to almost all of your other physical systems and your mental and emotional health.
I did it. 165. And yeah, I'm super happy, obviously. 52 pounds. And that took me 1 year and 3 months to the day, today being February 17th, 2023. Yeah. And yeah, it was quite a journey getting here, you know. Lots of ups and downs and lots of things I've learned. And now I want to keep going, you know. I know I can go lower. This is what I would call walk around weight. My weight, I think, this is on the end of my top end of the BMI. I think it's a weight that, is an acceptable walk around weight. It's not necessarily where I need to be for race weight, but I've got a little bit of time to get that. So my plan is, although not part of this project, but my plan is to get down to about 157, so probably maybe 155. I've been there before for racing, and the chance of injuries are just so much lower for marathons and Ironman when you're that light for me. So that's my plan over the next, I got 10 more pounds, I guess, to lose, which those will be tough pounds because my calories are already really low, and my exercise is high, and it's just tough. But anyway, I'll get there. It's not a lot of pressure anymore. Like I say, this is a healthy weight for me to be at, and I need to not go really above this. I know there will be times when it creeps up to 167, 168, as long as I bring it down. But yeah, I'm giddy. I'm really happy I was able to do it, and don't intend to go back now. Just maybe go down, and this will be the upper end of where I want to be from this point forward. Thanks so much for being on this journey, and yeah, I look forward to reading your comments and hearing what you have to think. And yes, I know I need a haircut. I'm getting that today. We're heading off to Phoenix, Arizona for a little holiday, and I'm going to do a little high altitude training down there and some running, and yeah, have a good time. So anyway, thanks again for being part of this journey, and I think there'll be more to come. I'm not sure exactly what it'll look like, but this big goal has been done.
Well, there it is, folks. I hope you found this documentary informative and maybe inspiring if you're considering starting your own weight loss journey or your challenge. If you do, you might decide to do things differently. Maybe you decide to do a paleo diet and only do HIIT for exercise. I'm sure that would work. Maybe you will obsessively track your macros and only do yoga 7 days a week. I'm sure that'll work too. Just as long as you keep yourself in a negative energy balance, I'm sure all of those things will work. As long as you track your calories and your energy expenditure, again, putting yourself in that negative energy balance, it'll work. I would just urge you to consider that you continually ask yourself, is this sustainable for life? Remember, you're not doing this, I hope, just to lose weight for a challenge. I think you want to do this and keep it off, keep it long term. At some point, you may decide whatever weight you have reached that you're happy and you just want to maintain. If that's the case, then you do the same thing. You just track your calories as before, but you find that balance between the negative and the positive. You use your smartwatch, you use your MyFitnessPal, and you continue to track, to trim, and of course to train. As you do this, you'll find that there is maybe this happy point for you, this happy medium. If you're just starting with tracking, trimming, and training, I would encourage you to be patient, be disciplined, but losing weight is the long game. Depending on your SMART goal and how much weight you are trying to lose, it could take you, as it did for me, a year or more. Some weeks, as you heard with my weekly check-ins, my weight would go up a couple of pounds, and this is very common. Don't get discouraged. It might just be water weight, or it might be that your energy balance maybe slipped a little bit to a positive state. Maybe you just consumed a little bit more. Maybe there was some celebrations that were happening for you. Stay the course and make any necessary adjustments, but don't give up. When it was becoming clear for me that my weight was, as I said, stuck in the 80s and I wasn't going to make my 1-year goal, I had to take a long, hard look at my data. My energy balance overall had been in a negative state for years, but when I started to look at why was it that I got stuck or my weight bounced up and down for a few measurements, I came to the conclusion that it was my old nemesis, alcohol. As soon as I quit that, as you've seen from my charts and from my weigh-ins, that my weight did head back down. Had I not consumed any alcohol during that year, I'm confident that I would have reached my goal, probably even before 1 year. Oh well, better late than never. And gosh, did I ever learn some powerful information during that struggle. And isn't that what struggles often are all about? Finally, there are more opinions on the best way to lose weight than there are stars in the sky. There are also more diets being peddled every day, which claim to be the fastest, the best way to lose weight. The research that comes out on most diets is very compelling to suggest, not very compelling to suggest that one is better than the other. Remember, you track your inputs, you track your outputs, you get yourself into that negative energy balance, you will lose weight. If you're not losing weight, it's not likely the diet, it's something else. Again, maybe it's the balance. I wish you well on your journey. Feel free to message me if you have any comments or questions. And thank you for subscribing to my channel and giving this video a like. Please feel free to share with anybody you think might benefit from this information. I hope to be posting regular video documentaries every once in a while, covering things like training for a marathon or training for my Ironman. I also on my website have tips on physiotherapy tidbits or whatever else inspires me and I think is worth sharing. I wish you well on your journey. Peacefully, Brett.